I've spent a lot of time working with older adults, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Moving in with your grown kids, even when it seems like the right thing, doesn't always bring peace. In fact, sometimes it quietly chips away at your confidence, your space, your daily joys. This video isn't about blame. It's about helping you understand what's really going on, and what small steps you can take to feel strong, respected, and truly at home again. Let's start here. Independence isn't just a word. We don't always notice it right away. But when you move in with your adult children, something subtle can start to happen. Your sense of independence begins to slip. And that shift, even when everyone has good intentions, can feel like losing a part of yourself. You start waiting for others to decide what's okay and what's not. For older folks, that loss of autonomy can quietly wear on your mood, your memory, even your health. I remember working with a woman named Mary. She was 72, from Columbus, Ohio. After her husband passed, her son insisted she come live with him. She agreed, thinking it would be easier for everyone. At first it felt like the right move. The house was nice. She was close to family. But over time, Mary told me she felt like a guest in her own life. She didn't want to be in the way. So she stopped inviting her friends over, didn't cook when she wanted to, even stayed quiet when the grandkids were loud. I could see it in her. Little by little, she was folding herself smaller just to keep the peace. One day she said, "I miss feeling like a grown woman." That stuck with me. We talked about how she could take back small pieces of that feeling, and we started there. One thing that often helps is carving out a personal space. Even if you're living in someone else's home, having your own room that you can decorate, close the door to, make your own. That matters. It's also helpful to gently set routines that are yours. Morning coffee alone, quiet afternoons, a favorite radio show. These are small but real ways to stay connected to yourself. You don't need to fight for space to deserve it. You're still you, capable, thoughtful, worthy of being seen and heard. A room of your own isn't selfish. It's where you recharge the part of you that never stopped being whole. Here's something else I've seen more than once. Love doesn't always come across the way we think it will. When you're older and living with your kids, there's a good chance they'll want to help, and that's a beautiful thing. But sometimes that help turns into control. They tell you what to eat, what not to do, how to spend your time. You know they care, but the way they show it can make you feel small. And when someone is constantly managing your day, your choices, your habits, it's easy to start feeling like you've lost your place in your own story. That kind of emotional squeeze can lead to sadness, frustration, even physical symptoms like sleep trouble or feeling tired all the time. I once worked with a man named Frank, 68, from Austin, Texas. He moved in with his daughter after a minor surgery, just until he got back on his feet. But months went by and he was still there. His daughter was loving but strict. She told him no sweets, no driving, no TV after 9. At first, he tried to laugh it off. "She means well," he'd say. But over time, I noticed his spark fading. He stopped shaving, started sitting in his room most of the day. When I asked him what was wrong, he said, "I feel like I'm being babysat in my own life." That hit hard. We started working on ways for him to speak up without creating conflict, and it made a difference. One of the simplest things you can do is practice saying something like, "I know you're looking out for me, and I'm grateful, but I need space to make a few choices on my own." It's not about pushing back hard. It's about gently reminding your loved ones that you're still the one living this life, not just being cared for. You've lived too much life to feel like a passenger now. Even a soft boundary is still a boundary, and you're allowed to take up space in the room and in the conversation. And then there's this quiet feeling I see all the time, like you owe someone just for being there. It happens so easily. You move in with your kids, they help with groceries or drive you to the doctor, and suddenly you feel like you shouldn't ask for anything more. You keep your worries to yourself, put your needs second, and smile even when something feels off, because you don't want to seem ungrateful. That sense of "I should be thankful and stay quiet" is something I hear over and over. But here's the truth. That kind of gratitude, when it turns into guilt, starts to chip away at your self-worth. You begin to feel like a burden, even when you're not, and that can leave you feeling invisible. I remember Janet, 74, from Rochester, Minnesota. She'd been living with her son and daughter-in-law for about a year after downsizing. Every time she asked for something, a ride, help with tech, even just a chat, they'd sigh or say, "We're really busy, Mum." Over time, they started dropping little comments like, "Well, we are paying the bills." Janet told me, "I feel like a guest who's overstayed her welcome." She stopped asking for things altogether. One day she confessed she was eating cereal for dinner just to avoid being a bother. That broke my heart. We worked together on shifting her mindset, reminding her of what she had already given, years of love, care, and sacrifice. She wasn't a guest. She was a foundation. One thing that really helps in moments like this is writing down your contributions, what you've given your family over the years. It might sound simple, but it works. Seeing that list reminds you, your presence has value. You've already paid your dues in time, love, effort. You don't have to earn your place in a home you helped build. You're not a favor. You're family. And your needs are just as real, just as worthy as anyone else's. Another thing I often hear is this: "At least I won't be lonely if I live with my family." But it's not always that simple. Being around people doesn't always mean feeling connected. You can live in a full house and still feel like you're floating on the outside. For many older folks, moving in with adult children seems like a cure for loneliness, but instead it sometimes brings a different kind of quiet, one where you're present but not included. You start to miss real conversations, eye contact, someone asking how you are, and that emotional distance, even surrounded by family, can feel even heavier than being physically alone. Henry, a 70-year-old man from Tucson, Arizona, comes to mind. He moved in with his son and daughter-in-law after retiring. He thought it would be filled with dinners together, talking with the grandkids, maybe playing cards at night. But in reality, his son worked late. The kids were always on their phones and the house was mostly silent. "I'm here," he told me, "but I feel invisible." He tried suggesting family meals, offering to help around the house, but everyone was just too busy. He started going for long walks just to see someone smile or say hello. Eventually, we talked about ways he could rebuild his sense of community outside those four walls. One of the easiest and most helpful steps is to find a small group or local activity that gets you out once or twice a week. A senior center, a church circle, even a simple coffee group. These connections don't have to be deep right away. Just having somewhere to go and be seen for who you are, not as grandpa, not as mom, but as you, can shift everything. You deserve more than just being around people. You deserve to feel part of something, to laugh, to be missed when you're not there. The door to that kind of life is still open. You just have to gently walk through it. If something in this video touched your heart, take a moment to share it in the comments. What part felt true for you? Your story might help someone else feel less alone. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe, hit the little bell so we can keep talking about things that matter. Remember this: you are not invisible. You are not too late. You're still here, and there is still so much life that's waiting to meet you if you're willing to reach for it.